there's always something to observe. Even if you've got a full moon, you can look at the planets, you can look at multiple stars, you can look at carbon stars and see how red they are. There's lots of things that you can see. And the moon itself, like we just talked about, you could look at that the rest of your life. The absolute best time, once again, is to look at the faint stuff. The nebulae and all that will be during the new moon. From the first quarter to the last quarter, the moon is up and washes out most of your faint objects. And once again, you've still got things you can see. This is a chart. I'm going to show you a website here in a second. Here we are on November 19th. Now, tonight, the moon is going to set, moon rise rather, at 8:19 p.m. So that means it gets dark around 5 now. So you've got 2 or 3 hours to observe things before the moon comes up. You can use a chart like this to plan things. Now, if you move on down towards the end of the month, say the 27th, the moon doesn't come back up until 3 in the morning. You've got just about all night then to look at the faint stuff. Go back over here to the first of the month. The moon rose at 7:14, but it didn't set until 5:50. So right at sundown, the moon sets. You've got all night that you can look at things. You can see it sets a little bit later each night, then it comes up a little bit later each night. You can use a chart like this to determine exactly what night is going to be good for you to get out there and what time to get out there. Let's talk about how dark it is. Sunrise, sunset, and there's 3 twilights. Astronomical twilight here, this is the 18th, I showed this for yesterday. The sun goes down now about 4:50. You've got about 10 hours of daylight. Astronomical twilight is defined as when it's dark enough you can actually, it's technically night. Now, civil twilight, this is more or less when your street lights may come on. This is, the sun's down, but you can still see pretty well. That's civil twilight. And it gets a little bit darker. That's called nautical twilight. These are it's still light enough to see a few things out on the horizon on the open ocean. And then astronomical twilight is when it's really dark. So you can see right here, civil twilight ends about 5:16. The nautical twilight ends around 5:46. And the astronomical twilight ends at 6:15. So although the sun set at 4:50, you need to give yourself about an hour and a half for it to get truly dark enough all across the sky for your really dark or for your really faint objects. Now, it'll start getting darker over in the east first. This is a little bit better explanation. This is for the sun coming up. It's night. Technically, when the sun is 18 degrees below the horizon, that's astronomical dawn. It starts to, remember now the sun's coming up. Astronomical dawn starts to get brighter. When the sun gets 12 degrees below the horizon, that's actually nautical dawn. So it's technically a little bit brighter. Then when it gets 6 degrees below the horizon, that's civil dawn, civil twilight, and then there's sunrise. And going back down, it'd be the same way. You start getting into civil twilight, this would be civil dusk, would be over when it's 6 degrees below. You have nautical twilight and nautical dusk when it hits 12, and astronomical dusk would be 18 degrees below, and then it's really dark enough. What you need to remember about all this, find out when the sun's going to go down. It's going to be dark enough about an hour and a half after sundown for you to really start to see some things.